Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
Hey Teddy, have you noticed how little attention science and health issues get in the media?
Totally, Edgar, yet science information is very important.
Yeah, for sure. That's why the Health Journalists Network is here.
How can they help?
They are a group of journalists dedicated to advancing public understanding of healthcare issues through impactful reporting on health and science.
Oh, really?
Yes, they meet up every month with scientists and researchers, policymakers, and activists at the science media cafes. They then relay what they discuss to the public.
Does that benefit us?
Oh yes, very much so. This helps with health and science literacy for a healthy Ugandan society.
Okay. I love getting informed about science and health issues. Health information makes all the difference between life and death. I'll look them up and engage them.
That's great. They are based all over the country.
Oh, okay. That's interesting, and they should be making real impact.
They are empowering health communities through journalism. Journalists can save lives just like doctors.
Hi Rogers, can I ask you something?
Shoot.
What does corruption mean?
Well, summarily, corruption is abuse of public power for personal gain or for the benefit of a group to which one owes allegiance. For example, when a public office is abused by an official accepting or soliciting a bribe. By the way, private people can be corrupt too, like bribing police officers to escape fines.
Okay. So exactly how does that concern me?
Well, do you pay taxes?
I guess, yeah. What does that have to do with this?
Everything. Because those taxes you pay are supposed to facilitate services you use, like water, electricity, roads construction, medicines in hospitals, name it.
Okay, that is much bigger than I thought. But it can be stopped, right?
Well, yes it can, although it may not be as easy as it sounds. And here is the reason why. Corruption roots are grounded in our country's social, political, economic, bureaucratic traditions and policies.
So, what has kept it going this long? I mean, why don't we stop it?
Well, the main reason why it has been here for so long is because institutions are weak, either as a result of poorly defined ethical standards of public service, weak administrative and financial systems, or ineffective watchdog agencies.
What can we do to stop it?
At a national level, we must focus on strengthening the independence and effectiveness of public institutions that fight corruption. At a personal level, we must commit to never giving a bribe.
I promise I'll never give a bribe.
Well, that's a great decision you have made. Me and you now have to spread this message to all our friends. If we all do our part, corruption will be no more.
This message is brought to you by Alternative Digital. The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues, real talk.
I trust it's a good evening. My name is Tumuhimbise. As you know, every Friday at 5 p.m. we are in Face the Nation as our show, running live on our social media handles, Alternative Digitalk Facebook page, and also Alternative Digitalk YouTube channel, and Digitalk TV also Facebook channel. Today we are humbled to have I remember some friend used to say that it's very normal for someone to be controversial. I wouldn't want to say that he's controversial, but he's in him and the organization he leads is always in running battles with the state, in particular also Ministry of Education. Their battles have never ended. I do not know whether they are inherited since independence. So we are 63 years old. We're trying to dive deeper into our 63 years of independence, but of course tackling key sectors. This time around we are discussing education. 63 years down the road, we don't simply SIM, but we have English education system, if I may apply the term. Some bit of a background before I invite our guest, Mr. Filbert-Baguma, the General Secretary of UNATU, who will share with us his experiences, but also trying to dissect the Uganda's education system and or the education problem in this country. May I ask you, sir, to say hello to our viewers, and then we shall, of course, move forward.
Yes, good evening, viewers. I am Baguma Filbert Bates, the General Secretary of Uganda National Teachers Union, a voice for the voiceless, and like you rightly put it, we are in running battles, and as long as we are in existence, we shall always have issues to raise, because the teaching learning process is a dynamic one, and there are needs which cannot be fulfilled. So all the time we have issues to raise which need attention.
Well, you see, Mr. Baguma, you worry so many of us that went through your hands because I want to believe, so as long as you can speak even a sentence of English, you pass through a teacher's hands. Why are your problems never solved up to now? It will be teachers every now and again. What is your exact problem as teachers?
The challenge we have, the major challenge we have, is that people don't appreciate where they have come from. Because whoever knows how to read and write is a product of the teacher.
Yeah.
Whoever occupies any office is a product of the teacher. But whenever they reach there, they forget where they have come from, and that's why we have endless issues, because they don't even want to know where they have come from, which is very unfortunate to the country.
Thank you. But then one would wonder, as far as I know, teachers are workers like other workers, and as far as we also know, all of us as workers have representatives in parliament. Haven't they done enough? Or you would rather join politics because someone will say, maybe until we have joined ourselves?
You see, there is joining parliament and finding the environment there. I want to believe more than half of those who are in parliament were once teachers.
Yeah.
And the rest of them were taught by teachers. But you hardly hear them talk about education and the plight of the learners. Of course, when we talk about education, we are looking at the teacher at the center stage and then the learners. And that's why learners' conditions are teachers' conditions. If you want the learners to achieve the quality of education you want, then you must make sure the teacher is well motivated, the teacher is well trained, the teacher is facilitated and supported to do the work. And therefore, the unfortunate bit we have is that people tend to shy away from the truth. It is the responsibility of government, as per the Constitution of the 1995 as amended. It is the responsibility of government to make sure that every Ugandan child enjoys the right to education, together with the parents.
Which right you deny them? By demonstrating?
Of course, we have rights as teachers and as workers. And therefore, when we are fighting for our rights, you don't say we are denying them their right. Otherwise, if our rights are not observed and respected, then they cannot have their right to education. Because for them to enjoy their right to education, the teachers must have their rights respected. So even if we pretended to be there, they won't enjoy their right to education.
Isn't that what people say, that where two elephants fight, then the grass suffers? So you are letting the grass, in particular now, to represent your children.
Obviously,
students.
Where there is insensitivity to what ought to be done. Even the Bible says it very well, that they have neglected what they ought to do, and they are concentrating on what they are not supposed to be doing.
Who are you? You are using the Bible analogy. Who are those that have left what they ought to do, in your view?
Those in the offices of responsibility. Because every office in this country has people who are paid to do their work. So the moment the work is not done, then someone somewhere is sleeping on job. And of course that will end up having consequences, which consequences will affect the innocent. And in this case, it is the learner who is suffering at the expense of people who are not doing what they are supposed to do.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Baguma. Now, a quick one. 63 years down the road as we speak, I want you to use your expertise to educate all our viewers on whether or not you are convinced with the education system that we have in this country. Also minding that we have had various changes in curriculum, beginning with 1965 when we had a basic change in curriculum, primary, 67, 1995, 2000. How relevant is the current education curriculum as a whole?
You see, the whole problem starts from colonialism. When Uganda was colonized, the formal education was brought.
Yeah.
This formal education was a copy and paste. Now you are copying from the developed world and you are pasting in a developing world. Even right now, even after those curriculum reviews and education reforms, we have not yet reached the level of having a curriculum that is going to address the Ugandan question. Otherwise, if it was addressing the Ugandan question, then we wouldn't be having unemployment. And therefore, even when we review, the other element of copy and paste remains there. It follows us with even the reforms, with even the reviews, and that's why we have so many graduates who do not have what to do. It simply means our curriculum is not matching with the job market in Uganda, and therefore we have unemployment. You have graduates, but they are not employed. They are not employed simply because the education system is tailored on academics. And therefore, everybody wants to have a white-collar job, which is practically impossible because those jobs are not there.
If I may ask Mr. Baguma, you mentioned the review and the development of curriculums. Aren't teachers involved in this?
To a smaller extent.
Seriously? Then who does the bigger extent?
You see, the one who pays the pauper determines the tune of the music. These reforms and reviews are sponsored. And those who sponsor them,
what do you mean sponsored?
they are not facilitated.
They are not
by,
organic, they aren't from here?
Yes. So the one who brings it has his or her own ideas and would want you to make sure those ideas are embedded. Then you end up reforming, you end up reviewing, but you are getting the same product. And that is majorly where the problem is. Otherwise, when we are reviewing curriculum, it shouldn't be a boardroom kind of activity.
Should be research.
Even those who have not gone to school know the type of education their children should have. But you see, we review a curriculum, then we go, when we implement it, you find even the educated are not aware of what it is. You saw recently when the senior 4 results were out of the new lower secondary curriculum, everybody was saying, we don't understand this, including parliament. Now, what does that communicate? It simply tells you that, yes, you have reviewed the curriculum, you are saying you have the new curriculum, but stakeholders are not aware of what this curriculum is, what it entails, what is it going to address, and therefore it simply means there is still a very big gap. Because if consultations were made, people would be knowing what it is.
You mean?
But when they said result 1, everybody was saying, our children, all our children have passed. But did they all go to A level?
I should be asking you. I should be asking you because you're a teacher. Now, you see, Mr. Baguma, what I also need you to clarify. When you say if consultations were made, do you suggest they weren't made?
If they were made, then you wouldn't be having people asking about the grading. Those would have been addressed during the consultation.
Were you consulted towards the review of the curriculum as a union?
Like I said, if you are making a curriculum which is going to run for 5 years, and you come in this boardroom and you say, you see, this is what we intend to do, this is what is going to be contained, and in 1 hour, the consultation is done. That is not consultation.
What did you tell me?
That is a kata sekor. It is a kata sekor. Because people should interact with it. People should know what it has come to address. People should know what gaps have been there and what do we want to bridge. It is true, these reviews and reforms come with an improvement, an upgrade. But when you see the confusion within the stakeholders, it simply tells you that, yes, you are doing something good, but the people you are doing it for
are not with you.
Are not aware. And when I am not aware, it is not a crime. I will express it at a time when it is necessary.
Like now,
and that's why people are saying we don't understand these reports.
Yeah,
what does A mean? Yeah. What does E mean? They don't know.
You mentioned stakeholders, Mr. Baguma.
Yes.
I want to ask you, in your heart of hearts, do you feel that your union has done its best and simply been ignored, or you also have missing gaps within?
You see, you need to know what the mandate of the union is. We are strategic stakeholders. But if you don't invite us, we shall not bombard you to say we have had you are reforming the curriculum and therefore we must participate. No. We shall definitely talk about it and say we don't know what is taking place and so on. And sometimes in the eyes of the public, they will say, but why are these people complaining all the time? So the involvement should not only be in the boardrooms, you should go to the parents and guardians, you should go to the religious leaders, the foundation bodies, you should go to the teachers, and you should do this extensively. So that by the time you come out of the piloting and you are going to roll out, majority, they may not be all, but majority of the stakeholders are aware of the good thing you are bringing for them. And they also own it. Now, the moment they own it, then the implementation becomes very easy, and they are able to express themselves about the same, and that will be very easy. But when you find a reform has come, you find a review has come, and everybody, including the teachers who are to implement it, are saying there are some aspects which we need to understand, then you know there is a very big challenge.
Thank you, Mr. Baguma. Now, if one asks, after all that has been said and done, because you literally also want, for purposes of this interview, I will call it pride. So, your union plays the pride card and egoism and says, okay, well, you have made your consultations, things are going this way. So where does that leave your learners? Because these are your closest allies and the entire nation at large. And one gentleman may also consider you as not being patriotic.
You see, I don't want us to hide ourselves into patriotism. Your children at home do not need to be taught how to love you. Then you will not be their father. You will not be their parent. What you do to your children makes them closer to you and respect you as the parent. Therefore, any money that is spent on patriotism, teaching people how to love their country, is a wastage of resources. What? A teacher who cannot take his or her children to school, and you take him and say, we want you to go and teach patriotism. What a contradiction. And therefore, I don't want us to say we have the pride. We are here as representatives of teachers. And therefore, if you have anything that concerns the teacher, you must go through the leadership of the teachers. We have structures. Yeah. Why didn't you go to the street and get someone to join this discussion? Why did you come here? You came here because you know this is the headquarters of a union that houses the teachers. And therefore, when we are saying this, it is not pride, but we are saying, if you have something good for me, why do you do it without my involvement? And yet at the end of the day, you will need my service. So it is just a matter of knowing what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. And I want to inform the viewers that once you do this consultation and engagement, it becomes very easy. Even at the time you are going for trainings and so on, because we meet teachers more than any other institution. Yeah. And therefore, your work becomes easier and less costly, because that would mean we streamline these other factors, including the new curriculum, and train our members. But when you decide to keep it because it is your responsibility, then we leave you. And the consequences
are dire.
So,
you see, Mr. Baguma, I want you also to lend you an analogy where we have seen some children not appreciating what their father does. Aren't you such a type of children that therefore the father ought to become hard on you to say, excuse me, Mr. Baguma, I am your father and you have to love me as your parent?
Obviously, that is a communication that something is wrong. If I came to your home and I was visiting you, and I found you telling your wife, don't you know I am your husband? That is enough to tell me to go away, because that is not a home to visit. Because you married this wife, you have children together, every day you go to the bedroom together and you have to remind her that you are the husband, then there is a problem. And you have to remind your children that I am the father, you will see me.
Yes,
that is enough to communicate. That is enough to communicate that there is a problem. And therefore, we need to do what we are supposed to do, and then the rest will flow. There is no reason why I should remind you who your father is and how you should respect your father.
The fatherhood is seen in the responsibilities executed.
Yes. As long as you are executing your role as a father, then your children will know our father does this, our father is coming, our father needs this, and everything will be flowing very well.
Thank you, Mr. Baguma. We are with Mr. Filbert Baguma, General Secretary for UNATU. But then what we cannot run away from is a rumor that such trade unions are agents, in fact, agents of the West or agents of some politicians, that now this is your right time for you to, in quotes, to make a lot of loud noise. What's your comment?
You see, we don't operate from space. And therefore, if you are an agent, the state has the machinery to find out whom you work with. Since time immemorial, labor unions are feared.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the struggle for independence, it was a struggle. It was not gotten on a silver plate.
Yeah.
And people have had that kind of thinking that labor union leaders end up being very terrible politicians. And that's why they think when you talk, it is not a matter of saying unions make noise. What are they communicating? If we tell you that the teachers need to be motivated, the question is, are they motivated enough? If they are motivated enough and we are saying they are not motivated, then you will come to blame us and say, why are you making noise? But if they are not, then you must listen to the message and address the issues. If we say the learners deserve seats, they deserve scholastic materials, that is not politics. You need to listen to the message and then pick out those aspects that are obvious and work on them and see whether we shall talk about them again. And therefore, the only challenge we have as labor unions is that the stakeholders do not understand the roles of labor unions. And sometimes they confuse us with opposition. Education matters are not political.
Sure.
If there is a need for infrastructure in the schools, period.
But the president, in fact, I think just a few days ago, I saw the deputy CDF being saying that you had better go back and teach. You are not patriotic. And that's why this discussion was also being driven from such a comment. People thinking, or people in governance thinking that you do not appreciate. Either you are selfish, you want to be given the biggest priority, where a country like Uganda is with its growing economy, we, as in administration, they cannot have you as a priority and then leave others. That is why I also want to ask you in regards to you mentioned motivation. Your own teachers, in this case, science teachers, are literally being motivated, most likely happier than the rest of your other sector of teachers. Why don't you appreciate that, at least for now, scientists are also being appreciated differently as you continue praying, or looking forward to maybe some other support, let alone for the art teachers?
I thought you were making a comparative kind of argument. Because how much does a teacher earn?
Generally.
Yes. If the person who is saying teachers are not patriotic, when he goes for breakfast in a hotel, how much does he pay? If we look at the cost the government injects in UPE, 20,000 per child per year translates to around 80 shillings per day.
80 as in Uganda.
80 shillings,
80
10,
shillings.
20, 30, 80 shillings per day. Now, if you go to a hotel, an average hotel, how much is a plate of food? With a soft drink.
So eating, if I ate a plate of food, I will be eating my kids' fees.
It is not enough. It is not enough. And therefore, realistically, let us not hoodwink Ugandans to believe that those who say that there is a need for improvement here are not patriotic. Then we are blowing out of proportion the real meaning of patriotism. And two, if the country has limited resources, then we need to see the distribution of these limited resources being adequately, equitably distributed. But the moment you wake up one day and you say, this one can get an increment of 10 million. At a go, this is one person. But the person who is working with this one remains without. But we are telling this person, for you can wait. Now that this one has gotten, your time will also come. But remember, you don't wait to eat. You don't wait to go to the shop. You don't wait to move. And therefore, you create a scenario where people even lose hope. The person you are telling to wait maybe has 1 year to retire. So what is he waiting for?
For another generation.
So in a nutshell, we are not saying Uganda has a lot of resources. No. Uganda has adequate resources if well distributed, fairly and equitably. Every Ugandan would have a smile on the face. But when there is no equity and fairness in the distribution, that brings these voices you hear where they are saying, but now, if there is no money, why wake up one day, you push this one to the sky and leave the other one yawning? It's like one day an officer went with a driver, and this officer was going for a meeting. So the driver reached the parking and remained in the car. The officer went, had breakfast, had lunch, had evening tea, so came back to the car. The driver did not take anything. So when they were going back, the officer was yawning because the stomach is too full. The driver is yawning because
the stomach is empty.
The stomach
but
is
both
empty.
are yawning.
And both are building the nation. So it's unfair.
Okay, I don't know, but of course, I don't know whether you know that some people out there consider you being lethal, as in as a union, because you have met the president not once or twice. Your problems are never solved, and when I talk about your problems, I want to generally speak. When you give examples of Muwasa, Makerere, that union itself, then what is that exact problem with teachers? Like the government has failed to solve through engagements, and then you go for demonstrations.
The unfortunate bit we have is what is said today changes tomorrow. So what you agree on is not implemented. And when it is not implemented, what do you expect?
Are you being lied to by the people in government?
Obviously.
Isn't that a big accusation saying that the leaders are liars?
I am the one saying it. It is not yours.
You have your
so
camera
I
there.
am facing the camera
That what?
and saying it, that they are liars.
And you okay. They are liars and you are consistent. In
The moment,
you must-
what we agree on is not implemented, then we shall go back. Don't think that there is anybody who enjoys going for a strike, for example. It is not the best, and nobody enjoys it. But by the framers of the Constitution, they indicated that if all other processes of negotiations have been explored and there is nothing tangible coming out, then the last option
Strike.
is
No,
industrial
demonstration.
action, which is a strike. And therefore, going for it simply means
All the channels have been blocked.
all the channels have been utilized and there is nothing coming out.
See, I want to ask you this, Mr. Baguma. After you have been lied to yesterday, you were lied to yesterday but one, you were lied to today. When you meet for the following meeting, what do the powers that be tell you?
Obviously, they have nothing to tell you.
What happens?
Because
What happens in the meeting?
they have nothing to tell you. Otherwise, some of these would be resolved and you do not be having issues.
Because I want to believe.
But the mere fact that you continue to see us simply means whatever was agreed on was not implemented, and therefore you have to go back to square zero.
So when you go with the previous minutes, highlighting your previous agreements, and the take-home points, what do they say?
Obviously, they will create some reason to tell you that we didn't do this because the resources are not yet available.
And what do you tell them?
Now, if the resources are not yet available, do you keep quiet? You have a duty to communicate because you are in a public office, and therefore it is good practice to give feedback. By the time you go for industrial action, remember we have to first write. We even tell you we are going to go for industrial action on such and such a day.
So what happened, okay, in this particular one, when you gave a notice, what happened in between your notice and when you executed the industrial
We
action?
first executed and then the discussions began.
So does that mean that they believe in action first, especially from your side, the pressure?
It is a kind of reactionary kind of management, which is very unfortunate, because I have told you that we are going for industrial action on such and such a day. You leave us to go for industrial action.
You could be throwing
Now, when we are there, you call us. That is reactionary. Why not invite us before we start?
Under your sector, we have responsible offices in particular, and I would want to use Parliament as one office. For instance, of course, they are under a Ministry of Education, and of course, above the two is the Presidency. Of the three, who do you think hasn't served their purpose?
First of all, you need to excuse the president. That office is high-level office and shouldn't be engaged in each and everything.
He's the one you meet, certainly.
We meet him as the last resort. Meeting him simply tells you that
Everything here.
others have failed to do what they are supposed
Which
to do.
others in this particular discussion?
In this particular discussion, you have Ministry of Public Service, which is responsible.
Yeah.
It is supposed to,
Yeah.
to be
Cater for-
technically advising government in the area of salaries. And therefore, by the time you reach there,
And the welfare
it
at
simply
large.
means there is a problem there. But that shouldn't be that the president should meet every other person who is talking about salary or other welfare issues. That shouldn't be the case.
Okay. We have a few minutes to close, and I wanted you to share your insight. First of all, I want to bring it back to you for your address and ask the science teachers were given some increment onto their salaries and left their art teachers. What does that communicate, and of what consequences do you think that would bring onto your union?
You see, first of all, it is not a crime to increase salary for one category. But like you have a home and you have children in this home, if you buy for one child clothes and you promise others, and over time you don't attend to these others, this other one you bought for will not be at peace.
Yeah.
And therefore, giving money to the science counterparts is not a problem. It is not a problem at all. The only challenge is that
Selective increment.
you have given, and the others you are telling them there is
Wait
no
a bit.
money. Wait. Now wait for how long? This distorts public service delivery. You see, some people, government should be lucky and thankful for us. We tell government
Frankly,
that there
this
is
is
a
the
problem here. But there are those who keep quiet and they even don't do anything. So you can fight absenteeism and you promote presentism. And therefore, for you to create boundaries within public service, it is not a good idea, because at the end of the day, you may even not get value for your money. Because those boundaries create hostility at the workstation. And once there is hostility, you cannot guarantee that you will have production. So it doesn't augur well. And that's why sometimes we shall come out and say, but there is this problem. Now, ours is to tell you, when you don't address it, then you will shoulder the consequences. Because it would simply means the learning outcomes will remain low. Someone might be there, but not happy. So what will this person do? Humanly, people have emotions. They have the psychological feelings. So you may force them to do what is against their will. And they will do it the way they feel they should do it. And at the end of the day, you don't see results that you are seeing. But people are ever there. Yes, they are there.
Presentism you talked about.
And therefore, to avoid all this, that's why we come out to say, please, there is a challenge here that needs to be addressed. Now, whether you take us to be bad people, I don't mind as long as I'm telling you the truth. Because telling you the truth is not a crime. If according to the gospel, according to your gospel, you think that is being bad, I have no problem because I am communicating exactly what is on the ground. So whether you want to listen to it or not, that is your case. But me, I will have done my part, and in the eyes of the Creator, I will have no issues
To answer.
because I told you and you did not address the issue.
We have 4 other about minutes, Mr. Baguma. I want you to answer this. If you were given, should we use if? Yeah, okay. Let's go with if. If you are given an opportunity to be there on the drawing table, what reforms would you, in particular, bring to the education sector of this country 63 years later?
First of all, the curriculum would produce graduates in the fields of their passion. It doesn't make sense for us after 63 years to force every child who goes to the education system to have excellence in academics. And that explains why those who start P1, by the time they reach P7, 60% or so have dropped out. And nobody can account for them. Because we force them on what we want them to study.
Not what they want, not what they would want to study.
So identification and giving them parallel paths would solve that. Because if a child is very good in athletics, in football, in using hands, then those should go and toe that line and be tested and assessed in that line. And you leave those who excel in academics to go
with the academics also.
With academics.
And be assessed to that side.
So that would be number one. So that you have all fields catered for, and the children would go to where their passion is. That's why even today, when you go to our vocational, technical, farm schools, you will find them with very few learners. Because every learner wants to go through the academic, and that's why we have very many graduates unemployed. That's number one. Number two would be on the teacher recruitment and deployment. You see, today there is where you go and you find a teacher in front of 250 learners.
Yeah.
That is not teaching.
What is it?
It is just taking care of them. You keep quiet, keep quiet. That is not teaching. You cannot teach 250 learners.
One.
You cannot at a go. You cannot. So you need to recruit adequate teachers and make a provision even for times when female teachers go for maternity leave. A female teacher is entitled to 60 working days. Yeah. Now, if you sit and say our policy is one teacher per class, what will happen when this teacher goes for maternity? And you are saying no school should charge. So who will take care of this class?
When the female teacher isn't around, for instance.
Yes. 60 working days is a full term.
Yeah.
There are teachers who fall sick, and they are entitled to sick leave. So what happens to your class? Okay. And therefore, all these need to be addressed. Then you need to have teachers' accommodation starting with hard to reach areas. Plus incentives to attract teachers to these places. Because there are places, even when you have money to rent a room, it is nowhere to be seen. But there is a school, and there are teachers there. Now, if a teacher is going to walk 10 kilometers to reach the school, what happens if it rains from 6 a.m.? Simply means the teacher will not attend. And therefore, that should be addressed. Now, we want to achieve quality education. This quality education can only be achieved if you have quality teachers. And therefore, government should put a scheme on how teachers can upgrade. And once they upgrade, they are supposed to be paid according to their qualifications. Because if I have a master's degree and you pay me as a grade 3 certificate, where is the motivation?
You end up starting private schools.
And therefore, to address that, you pay teachers according to their qualifications, and they get motivated and facilitate their upgrading, either with a scheme that will ease the work of going to upgrade and come back and have in place a structured, systematic, continuous professional development. Because content keeps changing.
Yeah, definitely.
Through reviews, through reforms. There are teachers in the field who studied when there were no computer libraries in the teacher training colleges. But today, we are in a digital era. So how do they catch up if there is no structured, systematic kind of continuous professional development? It defeats them, and you will find them with hands down. And there is also to bring back the parents and guardians in the education of their children. Unfortunately, some parents think the children belong to His Excellency the President, and they don't want to contribute anything. And these children go hungry. A hungry child being taught by a hungry teacher cannot produce the learning outcomes we all desire to see. Yes.
Okay, our viewers, because of limited time that we have for this particular show, we will humbly request Mr. Baguma to give us lengthy time, some other time, to expound on what is eating the education sector, but also with now practical solutions. Because we believe, not just believing, all of us have gone through their hands, from the president to, most of the people, in fact, all people in public service who ought to work hand in hand with them and ensure that their lives are changed. Because once their lives are changed, definitely we have productive people, because they will have learned and they will have been taught by satisfied teachers, not hungry teachers, then hungry pupils, hungry learners. So it becomes a hungry country.
Who will produce hungry results.
And then you produce also hungry results. See you some other time. No man signs out.
The Alternative Dig Talk. Real issues,